Hello, I'm Linda Brayman for Senior Moments, and it's summertime, summertime. Who can forget that song by the Jamies? It was on the U.S. Billboard Top 100 in 1958 and 1962, and we weren't singing "No More Teachers, No More Books." We were dancing out the doors, singing and shouting, "No time to work, just time to play." If your folks complain, just say, "It's summertime." So what are your plans for this summer? To rest? To cool off with icy lemonade? To watch Senior Moments? There's a good thought. Not only is this month's show interesting and informative, but it will also give you an excuse to rest and cool down. Senior Moments covers events and activities at senior centers in the Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti area, such as the Ann Arbor Senior Center, Turner Senior Resource Center, the Pittsfield Senior Center, and the Ann Arbor Community Center. Also, the show provides valuable information for senior citizens on such issues as health, wealth, finance, and entertainment. The program premieres on the last Sunday of the month with the reruns on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 11 a.m. and 5 p.m., Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 5 p.m. on CTN Channel 19 for a month. So watch Senior Moments and do your own thing. And if anyone says, "Act your age," just tell them, "It's summertime." Welcome to Senior Moments. I'm Linda Brayman, and our guest today is Liz Greaves-Hoxisie, who is going to talk to us about theater today. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you.
What inspired you or caused you to become involved in theater in the first place?
Well, it's just trail of circumstances. I tend to follow thoughts. One leads to another.
Yeah.
And I think I probably came into it through love of English literature and reading plays in class. And it's something I've always wanted to do, but never had the courage to do it until I grew mature enough not to bother with all of that. And
so when was that? When were you mature enough?
How long did it take?
Was it recently, or was it?
It was probably early 2000 and whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Aughts, I think they call it.
Now, I understand you have directed plays as well as acted in them.
That's true.
Could you tell us about some of them that you've done? Maybe your favorite?
Yeah, I first got into it through acting, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And probably my favorite one was actually playing someone who was, I think, about 91. And she was a wonderful person. You get very fond of your characters. I do. And it was a story about her relationship with her great nephew, really, and how that evolved. And it was just a wonderful play. It's called 3,000 Miles by Amy Herzog.
Oh. Now, do you remember the first play you directed, and why did you decide to direct?
Yeah, I decided to branch out into directing because it is really hard to get cast, okay? Theater is not easy. It's a great joy, but it's not easy. You know, you go to auditions, you may not get cast. You may be very, very good, but the director, for whatever reason, wants a different take or a different age or something. And so I was retired, and I found that I couldn't keep myself busy with just acting. And I take classes. I take classes at Redbud Productions, acting classes.
Yes.
They are. And I've taken them for a goodly while, since 2010. And I never thought that I would be able to direct. That just never occurred to me. and I've never taken classes to direct. But what happens at Redbud is we each perform scenes with our partners, acting partners, and then the class can make comments on the performance. And at the point where I found that I had something to say about the performances, I thought, well, maybe I could direct, because you know, you have to obviously have something to say if you're going to direct.
Yes.
And the first play I directed was it's a Noel Coward play that's not often produced, called Fallen Angels. And I had a good time.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you some questions, have you answer them to encourage and inform our audience, and hopefully get them involved somehow in theater. So the first thing I want to ask you is, what do you look for in a play you want to direct?
I look for one that grips me. In other words, there's conflict. And it can be a comedy, but it still grips you in a certain way. So if I read it, if it's a comedy, for example, and I laugh while I'm reading it to myself, that's a good sign, because it means I would enjoy working with that play. If, on the other hand, it's really fascinating drama, that also is a good sign. The most recent thing I directed was The Crucible, which is obviously not a comedy, but the drama is just totally gripping. And so I did that. I've done comedies too, Sonia, Vanya, Masha, and Spike. I've done that. These are all with PTD Productions, I should say that. And we were the first company to put that on in this area. And it's a very, very funny show. I loved working on that. What was your question again?
Just what you look for a play that you want to direct. And I think you've covered that pretty well.
In other words, it reaches me personally, kind of thing. And also, there's sort of basic financial considerations, okay? It is extremely expensive to put on a play. I work with PTD Productions. I started acting with them and then moved into directing. And you have to pay for the theater rental, which is not cheap. You have to pay for this, you have to pay for that. So you need an audience in order to do this. And the way that goes with community theater is that your cast brings in your audience. All your cast friends and relatives, they want to come and see. So if you only have 2 cast members, that is a disadvantage. Okay? So smaller plays, which for professional theaters are good, because they only have to pay 2 cast people. For community theaters, those are tough going. The larger cast is the better.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought about it that way.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, once you get into it, it's a whole world of different thoughts of what works and what doesn't.
Well, what makes a good actor?
Someone who's in the moment, or who has learned to be in the moment, and responds truthfully to whatever they're given. You know, it's as simple as that. I think actually acting is about listening, and then just, you know, you listen and you respond, kind of thing, and you listen very closely with any luck.
So if somebody doesn't want to act, is there anything else they can do to get involved in theater?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, the thing with acting is a lot of people want to act, okay? So it's hard to get cast. With the actual production stuff, like backstage stuff or technical stuff, not that many people want to do it. It is a wide open field. And what you get out of theater is basically community, okay? Theater, each show is its own little community, okay? I did The Crucible, that was its own community. The play I did before that, directed before that, was August Osage County. That was its own little community. And that's a wonderful thing that theater gives you. Mm-hmm. You're being creative, being truly very creative, because there's much to be thought through and done, mm-hmm. you know. Mm-hmm. And you're also working with others, and you're working with others in a very wide age group too. Like The Crucible had someone, I think the youngest was 13, and the oldest was somewhere in early 70s, I think.
So is it a way that people bond and make friends?
Oh yeah, they do.
Mm-hmm.
They do. And you know, theater people are really wonderful people.
I'll bet they're a lot of fun.
Yes, well, yes, but they're also very giving, I think, because you have to be. So.
Okay, now auditions.
Yeah.
I assume that when you audition, have auditions as a director, you're looking for very specific characteristics, but when you have never met this person or seen this person before, how do you know this person is the right one for the character?
Okay, I'm going to say that a lot of this is instinct you develop. Mm. Okay, there are sort of parameters that you need. If the character is written as being 40, okay, unless, you know, you basically can't cast a teenager or someone in their 70s. Mm-hmm. And there are all kinds of, well, it depends on how the character is written, so there will be certain limitations as to who would fit better. And that can be a very heartbreaking part of it. You know, you might want to play this person who's 40, mm-hmm. but you can't. In high school you could. They would fake it. Mm-hmm. In community theater, no, we don't fake it. We try and get appropriate fits. But apart from that, you know, let's say there were 2 actors and they both were equally good in your estimation. Mm-hmm. There nevertheless may be one that there's just sort of a little ping that happens inside you. Oh yeah, that's the one. And that just grows. You get a certain instinct that mm-hmm. might work.
Mm. Let's go through the process of producing a play, starting with mm-hmm. auditions. I assume that first of all you have to select scenes for people to read. Yeah. And how do you select the scenes? Just specifically for characters you're looking for?
Mm-hmm. It's judgment. Mm-hmm. And you're going to cast these characters, so you want selections that will give actors a chance to read those characters. And you may also want, I like to get an idea of the range of what people can do. Mm-hmm. If, you know, it's asking for deep emotion, then can the actor do that reasonably? If it's very funny, how instinctive is their comedy?
Yes, yes.
So,
let's say that I'm sitting in the audition room, mm-hmm. waiting to be called. Mm-hmm. What happens to me next? Here I am, I'm waiting.
Okay, you have filled out an audition form.
Okay.
Okay, and on that you've indicated a lot of other information, plus whether you have any time conflicts during the rehearsal period. And you've also perhaps indicated what characters you're interested in. Some people don't, they just say all, anything. But let's say you have. So then I would only call you for those characters. And if you're willing to do a wider range, then, you know, you might read more.
And have a better chance?
Not necessarily, but you might.
Yes. Yes. So after you've cast everybody, what's the next step?
Well, then we all get together. The cast gets together and does what we call a read-through, which is just reading the whole play. And then we have rehearsal schedules, and we rehearse. And usually at the beginning you rehearse small chunks, okay? And then you gradually add bigger chunks. And the actors have to go away and learn their lines.
So when do the costumes and the tech effects come in?
Well, okay. The truth of the matter is it starts when you find people to do that work. There is a wonderful opportunity for costumes. If people want to do costumes, that is not something that many people within the theater community want to do. They want to act. And yes, you get a wonderful, it's a wonderful feeling to act. But it can also be a wonderful feeling to figure out what costumes would bring this character to life. And you can watch that happen. An actor puts on a costume, and now they're more firmer in their characterization. That's not grammatical, is it? I know. You're into grammar. They're firmer in their characterization.
So they don't get their costumes right away, though, do they?
Oh, no. Well, I mean, they don't have costumes right away. And, okay, this is another piece of, you know, play selection, okay? If you choose a period play, you are going to have a tough time with costumes because you're going to need costumes for a particular period, okay? And those are a lot of work. If you have a play that's more modern, then you can get away with regular street clothes that people wear now. And there may be things in the actor's own wardrobe that would work. So if there are, that's a benefit right there. So you'd ask them.
How do you feel on opening night?
On opening night, okay, I am usually a fairly calm person, at least outwardly. I know that on opening night I've done everything I can do to make it go well. In the same way as if I were going on stage, I know that I've done everything I can do to make it go well. And it's live theater, and things can happen, and sometimes that's part of the joy of live theater, you know?
Yes, yes. Now, why should senior citizens get involved?
Oh, well, I mean, I actually think that instinctively I started doing this to look in towards my retirement, okay? Because it sort of picked up. I was still doing it a little bit as I was working, but then, you know, once I retired, it became almost full-time. And it's immensely creative, okay? It's creative on so many different levels. And if you're acting, it's creative on so many different levels. It's like building this world, you know? And typically, you know, the plays that I like, they they tend to say something. There's some message there.
Yes.
And so you try and do things to develop that message.
Yes.
And then I think the really important piece is the community piece. Working together with people on a common project is a lot of fun.
Yes.
It's stressful sometimes, you know. It can be very stressful, but nevertheless, well, I don't want to compare this to battle, but sometimes soldiers who've been in battle say they're more bonded to, you know, their compatriots than,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
you could think of it that way sometimes.
Yes. So we can encourage all retired people, at least, to come in, and you could use electricians, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Construction people.
Construction people, absolutely.
Yes.
Electricians, not so much to actually wire stuff, but to have some understanding of how to wire stuff.
Yes, yes.
Lighting is a big piece. Sound is another big piece.
Yes, yes.
And the actual production is its own little piece. I recently was a producer on the last show that Petie the Productions did. And that's really more administrative, but it's important to get everyone together, to get this whole little community together, working together, and to be able to smooth over any problems that may occur. So that's important too.
Yes.
Just somebody who's organized and interested, you know. They would need, if they'd never done theater before, they would need experience. So they might get involved at, you know, a more minimal level at first.
Oh,
but
sure.
You could, you know.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you'd get experience.
Yes, yes, and have a good time while you got it.
There you go.
Liz, thank you so much for coming and sharing this very interesting information with us.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us. Please do give theater a try. You might even be able to get involved through your local senior center. So don't be shy. Consider it a new adventure and boldly go where you've never been before. It'll be worth it. Thank you for joining us on Senior Moments. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm Linda Brayman, and remember, it is summertime.